Hello and welcome to the second video of this series in order to establish a better understanding to what is one-to-many relationship in a relational database such as Microsoft Access. We discussed in the previous example how to do the division between the two entities, where we divided the first entity as the one entity as the manager. We call it table manager, and also we divided the second entity into a list of attributes or field, and we call it table EMB, employee. We also, as a good reminder to what happens, we added the primary key from the one table into the many table in order to establish the relationship. This is going to be called the foreign key one more time, whereas you notice that this value coming from right here, those are the primary key in the one table, or coming from the one table. This is the many table where we have one manager for multiple employees. So we know this is going to be easy to establish, and I'm going to go to Access now. Here it is, and start by doing the very first thing is to locate the database by calling it DBase managers and employees. So this is going to be saved directly into my hard disk. And as you notice, the very first thing that we have shown is that environments of the database access is a lot more different than it is in Excel, and it's a lot bigger environments, to be honest with you. So there's so many different features and let's say aspects of the environments that we have to really be worried about and know where it is. The very first thing that I wanted to come to is to, when you start to access, is to immediately click on the design, which is going to be providing you with the option of saving this table. I'm going to call it table manager, and say OK, and we're going to slowly go over those pieces of data that we need to understand how to establish this. The very first piece of data was a manager ID. Immediately Access gives me a primary key by the name ID, and is going to put it as a auto number. I don't want an auto number, I want it to be text because I want it to control it. And also here we need to specify that I want it to be for character in a text, and I'm going to be a little bit more creative in the input max. I know if I put A is going to allow me to enter a number or a letter, because I wanted to identify the ID of the manager by the department they're working for. So I'm going to say A and also 000. So what does that tells me here? It tells me that I must start with a letter or a digit, but obviously I wanted to have it a letter, and the last three must be digit. The 000 must be a digit. And as you notice, I restrict that to 4, and notice here the key, it's been the primary key, or we decided this is going to be the primary key. I must click on it in order to make sure it's showing here if it's not showing initially. But remember, I use the ID that is given to me by default as the primary key. Alright, let's go ahead and say manager name, okay, or manager. I'm going to just leave it as it is. We could use this if I go back to the caption here and I say manager ID, because it's good to use the caption to show what the user is going to see, or the person who's going to get the report eventually. It's much better. And here's manager. We could say manager, but we could say manager name, and here in the caption we could say the manager name with a space. I do always recommend not to have a space in the name of the attribute, because when you're trying to deal with the query later, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to remind yourself that you put everything in bracket if it has spaces. So make sure that you name them without a space in the design, but do in the caption whatever you like. So we have also the department here, and I'm going to restrict that to 4 also, because I don't want it too much. I didn't really change the manager name to maybe no more than 30. And the department name, I could use the Lookup Wizard. And you notice here I'm going to type only 2. I'm going to restrict it to the finance and the accounting. So I'm going to say CCACCT, and if I in C for the finance, and this is the lookup wizard. It's going to give me a drop down menu when I try to enter the data. So this is really the very first table, and I'm going to call that table manager. And if I wanted to go ahead and enter the data sheet one manager, of course asking me to save it, I'm going to save it. I'm going to say here, let's go ahead and go to the spreadsheet to remind us of these pieces of data. And here I'm going to put it next to me, and also I'm going to minimize this too, or actually restore it, so I'll be able to see both of them without having to close either one of them. Okay, here we go. I'm going to say the first manager is A124, as you notice here, and this one here is John Smith, and the department is going to be, because I used the lookup wizard, it's going to be that county. I'm not going to put any other because I wanted to leave the room for later to adding Mary Jones into the form. So we're going to leave that, and we're going to move into doing the other table, which is the employee. It's very clear that I have to go to clear, and I'm going to close this table and start to create another table, and immediately go to the design in order to give you the chance to name it. I'm going to call it table managers. I mean table employees, sorry, table employee. And I'm going to say OK. And I have now a similar employee ID. It's going to be restricted to text, and here I'm going to say only 3, and they must be all 0000, meaning all must be digits. And I have employee. Let's go ahead and remind ourselves what we have there. First name, last name, and the salary. So I'm going to put employee's name, then we're going to say employee's first name, and that's text. And I'm going to restrict that to 30 or maybe even 20, and here I'm going to say employee's or first name. And the same thing for employee last name, and we're going to put that 30, and I'm going to put the caption last name. Okay, and I'm going to do all the salary, and it's going to be currency. Change that to currency. Make sure that we understand what did we do, and I'm going to say here caption is salary, even though I used it with usually I don't really capitalize those or put any space. It's easier for me, but we're not going to be picky 100%. Now I could see that I added everything I need to add from the employee, but the most important part now is to put manager ID as the text. And now I'm going to say only 4, and we're going to actually create a weak link through the lookup wizard by allowing me to pull the values for this one here in the lookup wizard for the manager. I'm going to say I'm going to get it from another field from another table, which is the table, as you notice, the manager. And here we go. I'm going to say manager ID, and notice here we could do it ascending order. I'm going to leave it now, and notice I only have 1 anyway, and it's going to be manager ID. And please remind yourself this is going to be the foreign key for this table, meaning the one primary key that coming from the manager table, and this is the primary key for this table. So this has nothing to do with the link. The foreign key has everything to do with the link. This happens to be the manager ID from the one table that I had to drag it into this table to identify which employee is working for which manager. So let's go ahead and enter 2 of those by changing that view to the datasheet view. And we're going to put Jack first, 120, and Jack Smith. And his salary, let's go ahead and give him any salary, it doesn't matter now. Say here 56,000, and the manager ID obviously going to be Jones, because that's Smith rather, Jack Smith, sorry, not even Jack Smith, it's his let me go back to the sheet to remind myself. that this is going to be actually John Smith, not Jack Smith. So I could go ahead and add another one to, I know that a 345, which is a Cliff, this person here is the one who's working for this same manager. And we could go ahead and say Cliff. I forgot what his Cliff last name. And it's going to be Cliff Roberts here. And let's say what his Cliff makes is 39,534. And those two actually directly working for the same manager, happens to be the accounting manager by the name John Smith. Okay, I'm going to add other pieces of data, but I'm going to wait until the next video. Thank you for watching this video, and we're going to continue by creating the form to link the two. First of all, we need to create the link, establish the link between the two entities accordingly. And we're going to show you how to establish also the referential integrity, how to make sure that the relation is going to be solid, meaning there is no way we could add an employee unless the manager exists before that in the one table. And of course, if we wanted to update the manager in the one table, can be updated directly into the many tables, which is the employees, and decide on a few things, but I'm going to leave it to the next video. Thank you for watching, and we're going to continue in the third videos.